Today, let's take a look at creating some more detail in our models here. This is especially useful for any sort of patterning, scales, and all that stuff. The other day, I just showed you how to use the, let's go back to the original here. So this is Elena's Komodo dragon. I think it's off to a very good start. I think all the primary forms and secondary forms are reading pretty well, but we're kind of suffering a little bit in the detail area. And I know before we were just taking like a standard brush and then using an alpha, but this gets very hard to manage. And even if I do drag rect, I don't really have a great alpha right now anyway. But let's take a look at this thing called Noisemaker in ZBrush, and it'll help you create this sort of effect across your model. Alright, so let's go back to the original, and then I'm going to go down to the surface option here, and then there's this noise button. So I'm going to hit the noise button, and it gives me this preview of my model. And what it's doing is, by default, all it's doing is adding like a Photoshop render noise kind of function here. So that's the noise scale. I can turn that off if I want. We can change the strength of it to either be like a negative scale or a positive negative noise or positive noise. We can even use this noise plugin thing here, and that's going to go in and give me a bunch of options that ZBrush has. I find it's a little awkward to use, so I don't use it a whole lot. But what I think I'm going to do instead is this. At the bottom left of this preview window here, you can double click on this, and it'll bring up the alpha imports. And then I already have a bunch of this. Actually, let's close this out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll cancel this, close this. If I hit the command key, open Lightbox, there's a folder called noise, and these are different Noisemaker presets. I think you can download other ones online as well, and that could be very helpful. But for now, if I go to alpha, in my Pixologic ZBrush folder, I do have an alpha dedicated just to skin and scales. And I can look through here, and what I ended up using was like one of these here. These you can download off the Pixologic website, and they're also up on the class drive folder as well. So so this just gives me a preview of what I want to do. I probably don't want to use any of these because there's like a feathered alpha to it, so then you won't get that even noise. It'll just be like a circle in that shape, and then nothing, and then a circle in that shape. So let's take a look at this. I think I'm going to use scales 8 here. I'm going to cancel out of that. I'll go back into my noise option here. We'll turn on the alpha, and that was MC Lizard Scales 08s here. Let's open that. So by default, you won't really see anything. So I need to play with the alpha scale here. Let's turn up the noise so I don't get confused. Let's turn on the strength pretty high, and then let's play with these numbers. Let's turn up, yeah, there we go. I'm going to turn off the mix basic noise, because I don't want this default noise to be an issue here. And then what am I doing wrong here? Okay, so I increased the scale way too high, which is also why you're getting these weird errors here. And all I need to do is bring my scale back down, and then you can see what it's doing here. Alright, so maybe something like this. You see how it is also going negative, right? That's based off of this noise curve. The easiest way to fix that, I'll just hit flip horizontal right here, and then now I get a positive effect here. And then I can, of course, play with the strength of it. let's take it down a little bit so we don't destroy all of our forms. And then let's zoom out a little bit. And there we go. So I can hit OK here. So the nice thing about Noisemaker is that this is not, it hasn't actually been applied to the model yet. This is just a preview, because most of the time when you are working, you're not going to have a high enough resolution mesh to be able to handle this amount of subdividing or this amount of detail. So if we're at 650,000 points now, that's not going to be enough to get all this detail. So this is just a preview until I hit this apply to mesh button, and then I'll bake it down to that the geometry. I can turn it on and off, so I can continue working the way I normally do and just preview what this looks like, just so I know what's happening. So if you look at this, so I have two problems. Problem number one is that alpha was not tiled, so then you can see the tiled edges, right? So there's problem number one. Problem number two is you see how as it looks across, as I rotate across the model, some of these patterns get distorted. That's because it's trying to project that alpha onto a un-UV'd object here, and in 3D space it gets confused as to where it should be putting those details. The only real way to get around this is to put some UVs onto our model. So first, before I talk about UVing your model, let's get this tiled alpha thing under control. So in Photoshop, right here, if let's make a copy of this. Wait, this is not working anymore. Right, there we go. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this here, and then in this window, let's where's my history? I'm just going to go back. Alright, so this was the original here, and as you can see, this is not tiled in any manner at all, which is kind of weird why someone would actually use this. I'm not sure how you could possibly use it that way, but the quickest way I found the quickest, easiest, and laziest way for me to mirror this, or make this mirrored, is if I take the canvas here and I increase it, let's increase it percentage-wise by 200%, and then 200% here. Oh, before I do that, let's duplicate this, because I want this collection. I want to be able to select this by itself very easily. And I'll do canvas size again. Let's go percentages to 200, 200, and then there we go. Alright, so now I'll duplicate this again, and I'll transform it. I'll move the pivot to the rightmost little corner of the transform box, and then I will do a flip horizontal, and then I can merge these two down, and I can duplicate this again. I can Control T to transform, move it to the bottom, flip vertical, and then there you go. Wait, I don't think that makes this top edge tileable, but let's just double check. I'm going to scale this up 200% height wise, and then if I duplicate this, move this down, what happens here? I guess it's close enough. It's not great, but it works. Right, so basically I did this, I saved this as a new file called the same thing, but just called tiled. And now in ZBrush I can go back into the noise option here. I can hit edit, click on this, and then we'll point it to the scales tiled. And now when you look at this, I had to reset some of these. So let's bring the alpha scale down higher, a little bit higher. Let's take the strength down a little bit. And then we'll maybe just a little bit more, 0.25 here. Okay, I think that's looking a lot better. Cool, and then I'll hit OK. So now, let's see. We obviously don't want it on everything. We don't want it on the scales. So with this noise turned on here, if I mask out anything I don't want, like this, you see how it gets rid of that right there. And then same thing here. Get rid of that. But that's kind of not the issue right now. So let's let's get out of that here. Just to show you what I mean, though, because why this preview is important is that it looks fine now in the preview mode, but when I hit that apply to mesh, you see how it looks a lot less defined, and that's because we don't have enough geometry, right? So if I subdivide this, like say once, now I'm at 2.6 million, and then I apply the mesh, that's a lot better. It's still not perfect, but so to kind of get around all that too, instead of subdividing one more time, I think that might be a little overkill. I'll go to edit here, and then maybe I will increase the strength. It'll look terrible here, but at least when I bake it down, it will look a lot more subdued. It'll actually work fine. Right, so you have to kind of undo, redo, that kind of thing here. So to fix problem number 2, where it's stretching, is that we need to introduce UVs to this. Thankfully in ZBrush it's pretty easy. So you'll notice that right now this is a Dynamesh model. So let's undo this. I'll undo that. Let's go back. Yeah, let's go back here. Let's turn off the noise so that I can see what I'm doing. And let's go back to surface. Uncheck noise. Alright, we're at 653,000 points. This is our original model, and it's a Dynamesh model, right? So the way it works is you could UV this, but I think at 650 points, 50,000 points, it's gonna be really slow. And so if there hasn't been enough encouragement for you to ZRemesh, this is the time to do it. Well, let's just see what happens if I just try to unwrap this. Let's turn off symmetry. We don't need symmetry here. Hopefully I don't crash, but it's entirely possible. As you can see, it's taking a really long time. It's just a bad idea to UV something that is really high res. I'm just going to exit out of this so it doesn't take up too much time in the video.